Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC Fight Night Orlando, and on the main card, we have Tai Tuivasa versus Sergei Pavlovich, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction. And to be quite honest, I am shocked that this fight isn't higher up on the main card. This is currently the fourth fight down from the main event. I would expect, looking at the card, I would think this would be the co-main event of the card. But for whatever reason, the UFC's placed them fourth fight down. It doesn't really matter. This is a very deep fight night card. There's some people overrating this fight night card and saying this could be a pay-per-view. And what they're doing is they're comparing that against Mackenzie Dern, Yan Xiaonan, or Alexa Grasso versus Viviane Araújo, or any of the other lackluster fight night cards. And then they're looking at UFC Orlando and they're saying, oh my God, this card is so good. And this is a very good quality card. It's not a pay-per-view though. All right, let's be honest there. But I'm really looking forward to this card. I'll be doing a bunch of prediction videos for UFC Orlando, including the main event, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Kevin Holland. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of those prediction videos. But Tai Tuivasa versus Sergei Pavlovich is an amazing heavyweight matchup. I mean, this is a fan-friendly stylistic matchup. This is almost a guaranteed exciting fight. This is almost a guaranteed brutal finish. And this is also very relevant to the heavyweight division. Both of these guys are ranked in the top 5 of the division. And I know you got a little bit of a logjam right now with Francis Ngannou, Stipe Miocic, Cyril Gane, and John Jones. But the winner of this fight is in a very good position within the division, because depending on how the top of the division plays out, whoever wins this fight is potentially one win from a heavyweight title shot. And I know Tai Tuivasa just lost, so it's going to be harder for him, but Pavlovich, who's on a nice win streak as it is, if he goes out there and stops a top 5 ranked guy in Tai Tuivasa, Pavlovich is in a very good position to be challenging for the UFC heavyweight title in the near future. So if you look at the tail of the tape for this fight, you have Tuivasa, who's 15-4. Pavlovich is 16-1. Tuivasa is ranked number 4. Pavlovich is ranked number 5. Tuivasa is 29. Pavlovich is 30. Tuivasa is 6'2". Pavlovich is 6'3". Tuivasa has a 75-inch reach, and Pavlovich has an 84-inch reach. So a slight height advantage for Pavlovich, but a massive reach advantage for Sergei Pavlovich, a 9-inch reach advantage. So if you look at Sergei Pavlovich, of his 16 wins, he has 13 wins by knockout, 3 by decision. And of those 13 knockouts, all 13 are first round KOs. He's on a nasty 4-fight win streak right now. His last win was at UFC 277 in the end of July of this year against Derek Lewis. And this was kind of a controversial finish. A lot of people were saying it was an early stoppage against Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis was kind of pressing forward, got clipped with a big right hand, got swarmed by Pavlovich. I mean, as soon as he hurt him with the right hand, Pavlovich has nasty killer instinct. He started swarming Derek Lewis, eventually hits him with another shot, and Derek Lewis just falls face forward on the canvas, and the ref jumps in. Derek Lewis pops up and starts protesting immediately, and people were saying it was an early stoppage. This was not an early stoppage, okay? Derek Lewis face hit the canvas. He was face forward. The referees are trained to stop fights. If a fighter falls and they fall flat on their face, it's usually a KO, so they're supposed to stop the fight. Derek Lewis was hurt badly. The fight was over. The only thing the referee did was save him from taking more damage. So solid win for Sergei Pavlovich, and against the highest ranked guy he ever fought. Before that, he defeated Shamil Abdurakhimov, TKO'd him in the first round. Again, just using his striking, using his right hand, clips Shamil, drops him, follows him to the ground and pound finishes him. The fight before that was against Maurice Green. Similar situation, just lighting him up with the right hand, hurts him, and then eventually finishes him. One thing I did want to mention that I noticed in all 3 of those fights, because I recently watched all 3 of those fights, is Sergei Pavlovich. And someone correct me if I'm wrong, if they recently watched this fight, maybe I missed something. He did not throw one single kick in all 3 of those fights. That is straight up insanity. I mean, he is only using his hands in those last 3 fights. He's been in the UFC since 2018. His only loss was his UFC debut against Alistair Overeem. And Alistair Overeem wasn't really in his prime at this point in time, but Alistair Overeem was able to get him down and just beat him up on the ground and eventually TKO him. That was in the first round as well, but that's his only loss in the UFC, and that's his only loss on his MMA record. So if you look at Tai Tuivasa, he has 14 wins, 4 losses. Of those 14 wins, 13 by knockout, 1 by decision. And of those 14 knockouts, or of those 13 knockouts, he has 11 first-round knockouts, which is absolute insanity. His last fight was against Cyril Gane back in September at UFC Paris, so really not that long ago, and this was a crazy fight. Cyril Gane was just fighting at range, pumping the jab, teeping to the body. In the second round, Tai Tuivasa clips him with a massive right hand, drops Cyril Gane, looks for the finish, isn't able to get it. Soon after, gets hurt by Cyril Gane, retreats, then clips Cyril Gane again, kind of makes him retreat a little bit more, and then Gane just kind of goes back to work again. And then in the third round, Tai Tuivasa's bloodied up, and he's just starting to get clipped with more and more shots. He's slowing down. Cyril Gane using his footwork and just moving out of the way of Tuivasa as he looks to close the distance. Eventually lands, as Tuivasa is trying to close the distance, a nasty right uppercut, then swarms him with the combination, eventually clips him with a left hand, drops him, and finishes him off with hammer fist. And in this fight, Tai Tuivasa, I mean, a lot of people overlooked him in this fight. I did not think he had a chance to win this fight, and I get it. He was destroyed for a lot of the fight, or outstruck for a lot of the fight, but he had huge moments in this fight. He clipped Cyril Gane badly and almost finished him in that second round with the right hand, and then also clipped him again in the second round with the left hand that really got Cyril Gane's attention. So even though he lost the majority of the fight, it was a very good showing, and he showed how durable he is. The fight before that, he fought Derek Lewis, an opponent in common with Pavlovich. He KO'd him with a nasty elbow. It was a firefight up until that point. Tuivasa, when he goes out there, he's always in exciting fights. It was a firefight. At one point, Derek Lewis was lighting him up against the fence as he was trying to get back to his feet. He was on like a knee, and I thought he was going to get finished there. He eats the heavy right hands from Derek Lewis, gets back to his feet, starts landing on Derek Lewis, and lands a nasty standing elbow and flatlines Derek Lewis. He falls right on his face, similar to the Pavlovich-Lewis fight. Fight before that, KO'd Augusto Sakai. Fight before that, he KO'd Greg Hardy. The only thing I don't like when I look at Tai Tuivasa's resume is he was almost finished by Greg Hardy. He got hurt badly by Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy got overzealous, rushed forward, looking for the finish, gets clipped and put out. Fight before that, Harry Hunsucker, really not much to talk about there. The only other thing I want to talk about is his other 3 losses were all the way back in 2019 and 2018. And all 3 of those losses, whether it be against Sergei Spivak, Bagoy Ivanov, or Junior Dos Santos, all 3 of those fights, he was basically out-grappled in and eventually finished. It just shows Tai Tuivasa's skill set. His grappling isn't particularly great. It definitely isn't his strong suit, but Tai Tuivasa has nasty, brutal power, and any fight that is kept standing against anybody in the heavyweight division, I think Tai Tuivasa has a legitimate shot of winning a fight. You look at both of these guys, and I added it up. Of their resumes, they have a total of 35 fights. And of those 35 fights, 24 of those have ended by first round KO. So basically that led me to believe, okay, regardless of how this fight goes, regardless if Tai Tuivasa wins or Sergei Pavlovich wins, what that tells me is this fight is going to end in the first round. And when I look at both guys' skill sets, I think both guys have very good hands. I think both guys have very good power. I would give the edge, the power advantage to Tai Tuivasa. Sergei Pavlovich's head movement isn't that great, but he has decent footwork. Tai Tuivasa has very good leg kicks. Pavlovich's kicks are just non-existent. He refuses to throw kicks at all. He's basically just a boxer out there. And Tai Tuivasa has shown that he has a granite chin. We haven't really seen Pavlovich's chin tested enough to really know how good his chin is. But regardless of who wins this fight, I think somebody is going to sleep in the first round. And my official prediction for this fight is going to be Sergei Pavlovich by first round KO. And there's a lot of factors that led me to this prediction. First off, Tai Tuivasa just fought Cyril Gane and took a lot of damage. And that was only in September of this year. So not that long ago, 3 months ago, he was fighting Cyril Gane, ate a lot of shots to the body, ate a lot of damage, and he was eventually finished by Ciryl Gane with strikes. He took a lot of damage in that fight, and then to have such a quick turnaround against an absolute savage like Sergei Pavlovich, who has nasty power, who has very good counter striking, is a little more technical than Tai Tuivasa. I just think it's a bad recipe. Plus, you add in the fact that Pavlovich has a 9-inch reach advantage. I think Tai Tuivasa is going to get brutally finished in this fight. I just think it's a recipe for disaster. He probably should have took some more time off. And also, I think this is a horrible matchup for him because Pavlovich is not scared to stand in the pocket with some of the biggest power punchers there is. And also, he has nasty killer instinct. And he can keep Tai Tuivasa at range. And what Pavlovich, thrives in the most is when a power puncher is trying to close the distance and he's countering with that nasty right hand. I think Tai Tuivasa, his best recipe to try to win this fight is to chop the legs of Sergei Pavlovich, because Pavlovich is very heavy on that lead leg, doesn't check too many kicks. Tai Tuivasa has nasty power kicks, but I think the reach is going to be too much, the technical ability is going to be too much, and the right hand is going to be too much. I see Tai Tuivasa trying to close the distance in this fight and just not having a lot of success. I think Pavlovich is going to clip him with a counter right hand. Tuivasa is going to be hurt badly. He's going to swing wildly while he's staring at the ground. He's going to be hurt. His legs are going to be all over the place. He's going to be losing his footing. And I think Pavlovich is going to swarm him with shots, eventually kind of get him to the ground, whether Tai Tuivasa just stumbles from being off balance or Pavlovich lands a nasty follow-up shot. And I think Pavlovich is going to ground and pound finish him in the first round. But no matter how this fight goes, I think it's going to be a very exciting fight, but I don't think it gets out of the first round. Maybe Tai Tuivasa could clip him in the first round and finish him, but I just don't see it. Pavlovich is very defensively responsible, and also he has that 9-inch reach advantage on Tai Tuivasa. So I really see Pavlovich finishing Tai Tuivasa in the first round, and I think this quick turnaround for Tai was a massive mistake. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who's going to win, Pavlovich or Tuivasa? Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.